The biggest myth that we've been taught and told as women, especially mothers, is that it gets easier at a certain age, and it doesn't. Your neurodiverse child is always going to be neurodiverse. They're always going to have their challenges, and it is your job to lead. It is not your job to do or fix. It is not your job to perform for your child. It's your job to be. Here I am. If you can see my video, I am recording in a very empty room. We moved after returning home from Mexico. We returned home at the end of March and then moved 2 weeks later. And let's just say my nervous system needs to be regulated. So my word on how I want to feel is grounded, rooted. And I have made the rest of the year that as my focus, which brings me to today's topic. If I say anything and you're very curious about all the things, just send me a message on Instagram. Some of you have been private messaging me about Mexico and all the things. If you ever have any personal questions, I might not be able to get back to all of them. So if you did send me a message and I didn't reply, just know that Instagram is weird as well, and things don't always show up as they're supposed to. So you're welcome to follow up multiple times. There's like secret mailboxes that things go in on Instagram, but you can personally talk to me on Instagram. I'm the only one who checks my messages. Okay. So today's topic is all about high-performing women raising neurodivergent children. So I went and did a poll on my community, and 99% of the women that I attract are raising children. But when I start talking to them about, alignment and managing their energy, not time, and why they're working with me, almost everyone is either like, I'm raising a neurodivergent child, or I think they are, or there's like definitely uniquely wired behaviors here, and I don't know what that is. It's concerning to me, or you identify as that type of person. So regardless, I'm not having the conversation about diagnosis, but I am having the conversation about what happens at you as an ambitious high achiever raising a neurodivergent child. So when I was doing my research, there was a statement that came out, and it was on ChatGPT. Actually, no, it was Claude. I was hanging out in Claude, and I was prompting Claude. I was like, listen, I want you to do some research. I want you to look at all the things, blah, 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 blah. And it spit something out, and I was like, absolutely yes. And so I wanted to read it, and I want to have a conversation about it. And first of all, this is a great way to utilize to co-create with AI. This is something that my husband and I do all the time. I've actually forced him to learn about AI, and he loves it. So we've been doing a lot of AI integration into my clients' businesses, helping them create AI employees and things like that. So this is like a back pocket thing that I do. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. It's an AI consulting thing. Just you can send us an email at heather@heatherchauvin.com, or send me a private message on Instagram. So we go in, well, I don't, but actually sometimes I do. I will get clarity on like, where do you want to reclaim your time and energy? And then my husband will build an AI employee for you so that you can run it, reclaim your time and energy. But anyways, I digress. So I'm going to read it to you. The thing high-performing women are actually afraid to say out loud is this: the very traits that made them successful, performance, optimization, control, fixing, achieving, are all the exact traits that make them worse mothers to neurodivergent children. And watching their playbook fail in real time triggers an identity collapse that productivity hacks or energy management tips cannot solve. They can't outperform autism. They can't outperform ADHD, and they can't outschedule a kid who can't transition. And then they spiral because they don't know who they are without their results. When I read this, I was like, heck yes. Heck yes. The piece around the identity collapse is something that I've been working with my clients on a lot, especially this year in 2026, mainly because there is this common denominator that when you are in a state of transition, when you are in a state of uncertainty, or a child is having a developmental phase, or your business is having a developmental phase, or your career is having a developmental phase, you are going to be triggered on a primal, deep level that you cannot access with tools. And what I mean by this is, inside my community, we do a lot of work on beliefs and stories and managing the 4 types of energy: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual energy. And we use tools for each energy management type. But the through line of this is, who you come into my world being, you will not be that same person 10 months from now. And people don't understand this. But because you are taking this emotionally uncomfortable, courageous action in alignment with your vision, and we help you on your vision and what that looks like, as you're taking that action, as you're becoming the buffalo, as you're leaning in and pushing through your shit, it is so messy middle. It is so emotionally uncomfortable that you get to a point where your whole identity collapses, because you have finally been able to see that you are living a lie, that your coping strategies have become your personality, and your personality has become your personal reality. So, although I positioned today's solo around, that neurodivergent child that you are raising, doesn't matter if they're a teen, a tween, college, or younger, that's the thing that's going to trigger you. That's the thing that's going to get you. It's going to be that little hook inside of you that you're like, the identity of the high performer is not working, right? It's not working. You can't like discipline your way out of this. You can't like check box your way out of this. And because you can't do that, you're going to feel like you're failing. And when you feel like you're failing, especially as a mother, you are being triggered on a primal level. And that primal level is this core wound and core belief that the second you become a mother, there's this cultural expectation of who you need to be. But there's also this like internal, this is something I experience, and I'm sure not every woman experiences this. But when I became a mother, this like light switch turned on around, I can't fail. I can't fail at this role. And failure is so subjective. I understand that now, 21 years into the game, the parenting game, that as long as you're constantly showing up, it's a leadership role. When you are mastering your leadership skills, you're like, I'm doing the best that I can at the pace that I can do it. And I'm sure my kids will learn from my mistakes and do better, but I'm doing what I can with this bag of tricks that I got. That primal instinct is a blessing and a curse. The blessing of this, like, I am failing at this because my quote unquote playbook isn't working as a high performer, that's an awareness builder. But it will slowly crack. It will crack your identity. It will soften your identity. I see it on a daily basis with women. They will gain their value from their work, and they're like, oh, I need to make more money. Oh, I need to, we just need to refine. We need to whatever. And I'm like, but why are you here? And they know they're there because something feels off. something mentally feels off, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It may be affecting, financially, but something feels off and they can't put their finger on it. And because they can't productivity hack their way through it, or, there's no 6-step process to guarantee results, they want to give up. But there is a primal instinct in them that's like, I can't give up because I can't fail at this. I don't have the privilege to divorce my children. Although sometimes it would feel like a privilege, but it's like you just keep going and you keep digging. And so this whole identity around being a high performer, and I'm speaking directly to the women who are in leadership roles, like you're an executive in corporate or you're a business owner, you operate very, very differently than the average person. And so I titled this podcast, The Day My Calendar Stopped Working, because you cannot put connection time with your child on your calendar. You can't. Connection is a relationship. It's a chronic feeling. And I don't know if sure, you can, but I don't know if you have ever felt like you were a box checker to somebody. Like, they spent time with you, but they didn't care about you. They weren't present. They didn't think about you. They weren't emotionally available. Parenting and nurturing our children is not about doing for our children. It's not about being our children's personal assistant. It is not even about protecting our children from all of their failures and the million times that they're going to beat their face against the wall. Our job, especially as a high performer, is to operate at your max capacity. Operating at your max capacity, meaning mentally, you feel clear, you feel on your game, you feel present. Emotionally, you feel regulated. Like you know how to access that sense of calm. You know how to access that sense of peace within yourself. You know how to hold your ground. You know how to stay grounded and rooted while other people are having those meltdowns, while your kid is having a meltdown. Spiritually, nobody does spiritual energy management. A lot of women have relationship to spirit or relationship to a faith or universe, God, source, whether it's religious or not, but their relationship to desire is often really messed up. My belief and what has worked for me, because when I lived in a spiritual deficit, when I was in spiritual debt to my own soul, I felt dead inside. I need to feed my desires. Simple. Simply, I always say to my clients, wouldn't it be nice if what is on that list, if you spent 5 minutes and you just write it out? Everything on that list is what your soul craves. And it's a feeling. And the second you constantly self-abandon, like literally always self-abandon and allow other people to override your spiritual energy management, of course you are going to feel dead inside. So we have mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. Physical, oh my gosh, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started with physical energy management. Sure, you're going to tell me it's walking, hydration, exercise. If you're doing that, amazing. But spiritual energy management is also this addiction to time management, this addiction to planning, this addiction to logic and strategy. And you cannot solve an energy problem from the neck up. You cannot logically solve an energy problem from the neck up. I have watched women over and over and over again choose to say no to something that is going to literally fix their suffering because they are addicted to logic. They are living in their logical brain. They are addicted to it. And if they can't logically or intellectually solve an emotional problem, they won't solve it. And it is one of the biggest relationship killers. I have seen it again and again and again. The ego, the perfectionism, the people pleasing, the like, I'm smarter than you, let me just go get another certification. It's fascinating to watch how your mind will keep you safe. When I do a time audit with women and I say, okay, you want more time and you want more connection with your kids and you want to feel alive and energized and you want to become wealthy. Great. Show me where you are investing your time. And what I've realized is most of their time is spent on busy work or trying to fix other people's problems. And none of them, very few, are on moving the needle of how they want to feel. Because you only need to invest a little bit of time every day. I always say minimum 20 minutes a day. People are like, I got 20 minutes a day. I could totally do that. Logically, you can replace your scrolling time on the internet with feeding your soul. But people don't know how to feed their souls. So if you don't know how to feed your soul, how are you ever going to feel a sense of purpose and fulfillment and wholeness and joy and ease, even in the midst of chaos? Think about it. I think this year I turned 40. And although I feel like I've lived many, many lives, and some people might be surprised to know I'm only 40, because people are like, I thought you were so much older than that. I definitely feel like I'm going through a midlife adventure. I don't want to call it a crisis because there's no crisis in my life, but there is definitely disruption. And the disruption in my life is this cracking of what used to work is no longer working. And I am such a risk taker and an action taker. And, I desire this, let's do this, that I have to reinvent myself every 6 months. And when I say that, the reinvention comes with a lot of conversations with myself, conversations with other people to flex muscles that I've never, ever, 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 ever flexed in my entire life. So when I say the day my calendar stopped working, what I mean by that is I'm a huge fan of energetic time management. It's the foundation of the physical energy management that I teach all of my clients. It's the foundation of the accelerator and what people come into when they are figuring out their profit rule, when they are figuring out their needle moving action to generate more time, energy, money, and connection, and they learn the skill. And it's rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And you can check it out. Go to heatherchauvin.com/time and join the accelerator, and you get immediate access to it. And then I teach weekly calls on it live. But here's the thing. The day your calendar stops working is the day you are choosing a new identity. Your child who does not fit, he's a square peg or she's a square peg in a round hole, or they are a square peg in a round hole, the day that you realize that that child is here to challenge you, they're here to dismantle the beliefs and the stories and the identity that you carry. So what got you here is not going to get you there. So part of this episode is if you are entering a new season with your child and you feel like, I've already been through this 3 times, why am I doing it again? Just know, if you got through those other 3 seasons, you can get through this other one as well. The biggest myth that we've been taught and told as women, especially mothers, is that it gets easier at a certain age, and it doesn't. Your neurodiverse child is always going to be neurodiverse. They're always going to have their challenges, and it is your job to lead. It is not your job to do or fix. It is not your job to perform for your child. It's your job to be able to hold space, to have emotionally uncomfortable conversations, to challenge your child with emotional resilience. So I want to read you my little post again. The thing high-performing women are actually afraid to say out loud is this: the very traits, and I will add coping strategies, that created their personality, that made them successful, the performance, the optimization, the control, the fixing, the achievement, are the exact traits that are making them worse mothers to neurodivergent children. And watching their playbook fail in real time triggers an identity collapse, which causes shame. No productivity hack, no energetic management tips or tricks are going to be able to solve an identity collapse. You can't outperform autism. You can't out-discipline ADHD. You can't outschedule a kid who can't transition. And then you're going to spiral because you don't know who you are without your results. So if this is you, and secretly at night you are thinking, what the fuck? WTF? I thought I just figured this out, and then the school called. Or I thought I just figured this out, and now there's a new behavior. There's a new sensory challenge. There's a new developmental phase, and you are just figuring out your shit. The more capacity you have, the more present you can be. The more capacity you have, the more connected you will feel. The more capacity you have, the more aligned you will become. But acquiring capacity equals profit. Acquiring capacity equals having more than what you need. Acquiring capacity will force you to challenge this belief that having more time, money, energy is exactly what my child needed from me. That's not what we're taught as women raising children. You're telling me that my children are not the reason why I'm angry and resentful and depleted and exhausted? They're a motivator to become more. I want you to think about this. The day your tips and tricks and productivity hacks stop working is the day you get to return home to yourself. I want you to think about this. My whole vision here is to get you thinking differently, to get you acting differently, and hopefully inspire you to create change. So if you want to come into my world, you know where to find me. Go to heatherchauvin.com/time or fill out the application for one-on-one advisory. We're going to reverse engineer your work and your home life in alignment with how you want to feel. And I just hope that in the next 24 hours of listening to this podcast episode, you just think of something different. You ask yourself, am I trying to fix my child or am I leading my child? Is my neurodivergent child incapable of doing this? Or have I just gotten into a habit or a routine of doing it for them? Just challenge them. Just a slight challenge. You can't outperform, and this playbook doesn't work. You are being called to shift your identity. I would love to know your takeaways. As always, you're welcome to tag me on Instagram, DM me, and thank you. And if you gain value from this, share it with someone that you know will gain value too. Talk soon.